All right. So if you have a chessboard and some rice, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take one piece of rice and put it on the first square, and double that on the second, and then double that on the third, and keep doing that until you get to the last one. Now you have 210 billion tons of rice. Go and sell that and pay off your debt. I mean, who doesn't love a good story of compounding growth? When Jesus was crucified, the movement died with him because nobody was going to follow a crucified Messiah. And the movement should have stayed dead. The Jesus movement never should have gotten off the ground, and we never should have heard about Jesus. Except it didn't. It didn't stay dead because Jesus didn't stay dead. 3 days later, Jesus, who had calmed storms and walked on water, who'd healed the sick and given sight to the blind, Jesus rose from the dead just like he'd said he would. And those who saw him, the eyewitnesses who saw him beaten, nailed to the cross, and laid in the tomb, they saw Jesus face to face, alive and well. And for over a month, they walked with him and talked with him and ate with him and laughed with him, just like they had for the last 3 years. And so at the end of that time, Jesus sits down on the beach with the 11, 10 fishermen and a tax collector. And we have to just allow ourselves to recognize just how ridiculous this had to have looked and sounded. Like, here's Jesus and these 10 fishermen plus a tax collector sitting on a desert in Judea. And Jesus says to them, all authority on heaven and earth has been given to me. Like, all authority has been given to me, because if you can predict and pull off your death and resurrection, then you get all authority. And truly, the reason he could claim all authority was because Jesus had proven that out of anyone in the entire universe, all power could be entrusted to him. Because as he had shown on the cross, if anyone could be entrusted with all power and authority, Jesus would, because he would never abuse it. He would never use it to force or coerce or overwhelm. It would always, always be bridled by his self-sacrificial love for others. And so Jesus says, all authority on heaven and earth has been given to me. Now go, you 11, go and make students of all nations. Not like people from all nations who are in your nation, but like all nations. Not like all the nations that are around you, but like all nations. And not like disciples in all nations or representatives from all nations. Like, make students of all nations, teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you. And at which point I just imagine the disciples just kind of like getting really nervous. Like, did you write down do we have all the commands? John, I saw you taking notes. Do you have all the? And John, like, going through his notes, like, oh, the commandments, shoot. I just have the one. Love one another as I've loved. Matthew, what do you have? I have the one. Love one another. Everything else is just application of that. And Jesus is like, yeah, like, that's it. Teach all nations. Make students out of all the nations of my way of love. Teach all nations how to love one another as I have loved you. Go and teach them how to take the best of who they are and leverage that to move others to become the best of who they can become. This is love. Because when you learn to love, you're getting better at helping other people learn to love, at helping other people get better. And the better you get at helping other people get better, the better they become at helping other people get better. This is the compounding growth of love, that the more I learn to love others, the more others learn to love others, and the more others learn to love others. And it brings healing and peace and restoration and justice and unity throughout the entire world until all nations learn to love one another as I have loved you. So there's Jesus on this beach in the middle of nowhere, Palestine, with his 10 fishermen and a tax collector. And it should have just been laughable that Jesus looked at this ragtag group of guys. Some of them probably didn't even know how to read and write. And Jesus says, go and change the world, and don't stop until you do. And the first thing they did was they started a church. a community of people devoted to learning Jesus' way of love and devoted to collectively leveraging their best for the best of each other. And now here we are, 2,000 years later, as Jesus' way of love continues to spread around the entire world, from the slums of Calcutta to war-torn Sudan, to the prisons of Sao Paulo, to the boardrooms on Wall Street. That Jesus' way of love is continuing to pervade the entire world, because Jesus said, I'm going to build my church, and they will be known by how they love one another, and nothing is going to stop me.